Here's how the two finalists have reached this stage. Shabana coming through his group relatively comfortably, and then a three-game win over James Willstrop in the semi-final. That was a good performance. Matthew coming through against Gaultier of France. This is the route to the final for Arma Shabana. Came through against Nick Matthew in double quick time, just 25 minutes, straight games. It's in the pool match. And in his second pool game, he took on Peter Barker with a similar result, just 25 minutes that time. Again, straight games. I would say without breaking sweat, but you can see that wouldn't be true. But he was a comprehensive victor. And the final pool game against Shabagi, he won that as well, albeit it took him a third game to do it. Didn't necessarily need to win that, he would have been through anyway, but that made absolutely certain. And then James Willstrop taken down in 3 in the semi-final. You may have seen that if you were with us yesterday. It's a really quality game of squash, which the Egyptian won. Let's have a look then at his opponent, Nick Matthew, and his route to this final. He is the world number 2. 32 years of age from Sheffield. This is his first pool game against Shabana. We showed you that a moment ago. So he'll be out for a little bit of revenge. Of course, this was the best of 3 games. And the final, coming up shortly, will be the best of 5. Shabagi was next in line for Matthew, and he disposed of him comfortably, 11-5, 11-6, in less than half an hour. So it was a do-or-die third game against his fellow Englishman Peter Barker, and he had to win in straight games. Such was the complexity of the maths involved, and he just about did it. 12-10 in that second game. Then on to the semi-final yesterday against Gregory Gaultier. Lost the first game, won the next 2. It was a fabulous match. Could have gone either way, but Matthew coming out on top and booking his place into the final against Shabana. Alongside me, delighted to have Joey Barrington. We're just waiting for the players to be introduced by our MC Di Doherty, Joey, but this has got all the makings of an absolute classic, and there'll be no shortage of experience on court. Shabana 33, Matthew 32, 2 of the best players in the world.
It's going to be absolutely sublime, I'm sure. These 2 players always bring the best out of each other. Here comes the great man.
He's so popular, Shabana, isn't he? What is it about him? He's a real personality, apart from being a fabulous player.
He's a very cool guy. He's honest on the court. He's very amiable. He'll chat away to anyone. He's got no side to him. He's respected throughout the squash world by all the players and the fans, and you'll see in this final it'll be completely and utterly competitive, as you'd expect, but he's a class act, Trevor.
Well, here's Nick, former world number 1. These 2, of course, know each other very, very well. They've played many times. And in fact, Shabana has had the upper hand with the majority of their meetings. I wonder how both men are approaching this final. Let's find out. Left-hander Arma Shabana from Egypt held the world number 1 ranking for nearly 3 years from 2006 and is the defending champion at Queen's. He's now in his 18th year as a pro, having won his first title way back in 1999.
Yeah, the Z court is an amazing court. I mean, very unique colors with the outline trimmed of the lights around the court, and I think it's an amazing court. It should be the standard. It looks amazing, feels amazing, it plays unbelievable. And yeah, the atmosphere yesterday as well was very intimidating with the English crowd getting behind their player. We're not used to that very loud crowd, and yesterday was very loud, and we really got behind them, and it was very tough to keep everything together when you know everybody's cheering for your opponent. And thankfully, it was a great match, and I think everybody enjoyed it. I mean, I try not to think about it too much. Of course, winning the tournament here last year, it was a great feeling. I think it was one of maybe the only tournament I haven't won, and To have that to the collection was an amazing feeling. But you don't want to live on the past. 2013 is a brand new year. This is the first tournament of the year. I'm in the final now, so I kicked it off in a great way. Hopefully I can carry this momentum throughout the year. Nick Matthew, when he stands on the tee, there's very few places in the court where you can play the shot and stay away from trouble. He has an amazing reach. He's very solid, he's very fast, he's very quick to the ball. He sees it very early, so he doesn't really have a weak point. But there is so many areas of the game where he excels in. I just have to keep away from the middle of the court and just to try and play the ball as tight to the walls as I can and play to the four corners. That will keep me in the rally. How to win the rally is a different thing. Supposedly, I was supposed to play Nick 2 years ago in the final. Unfortunately, this match didn't happen. We've had a few battles since then. I think the last few times he managed to get the better of me. So coming into this match, I'm going to have it in my mind that I'm out there for revenge. We're both hopefully going to put on a good show, and the better player will win, hopefully.
Nick Matthew from Sheffield is a former world #1, now ranked 2, and a gold medalist at the 2010 Commonwealth Games. Regarded as the fittest man on the circuit, he's a double world champion and the favourite here at Queen's.
Brilliant atmosphere last night against Greg. You know, was late. It was still hot and humid out there. It was packed. I think it went on over an hour, which for 3 games was pretty long, pretty incredible. It was pretty relentless pace, fast and furious, and the crowd really got behind us. I think they'd seen 3 really good matchups to that point, and hopefully we finished the evening off really well. Yeah, I was gutted to miss this tournament through injury last year. I was sat on my sofa at home watching the Sky coverage, and it was fantastic, and I just wanted to be part of it. So especially grateful to be here in the final this week after losing the first match. Didn't think it was possible at one stage, so you know, delighted to be here and hopefully put on another good show today. Yeah, I feel good physically. Obviously it was a tough one late last night, but used to it by now, all the recovery strategies, etc. that we've done over the years. I'm 32 now, so I should be experienced in all of that, and yeah, feeling good for a good match today. Played Shabana earlier in the tournament, so hopefully his game should be quite fresh. Obviously it's unique to play someone twice in one tournament, so hopefully I can capitalise on that. It was best of 3 last time, and he duffed me up to love, really. You know, he plays shots that sort of I could only dream of, and I didn't see most of them that day. So, but hopefully today's a new day, get my tactics right, and hopefully best of 5 might suit me. So yeah, there's unfinished business between the pair of us, and you know, I think it's a great fit that we're getting the chance to sort of play that final that never was.
This is the 20th meeting between these two, Joey, so there won't be too many secrets between them, will they? Know how each other play.
Not at all. They've come up against each other prolifically, particularly over the last 18 months to 2 years.
You were telling me earlier off air that you fancied Shabana if he can win this first game.
Yeah, I think with the best of 5 format, Omar Shabana's got to make use of taking that first game, get it under his belt. It'll help to release him, his shots around the court, and the physicality of Matthew is quite immense when it comes into the best of 5.
Yeah, the longer it goes, the more you fancy Matthew with his superior fitness levels. Well, when Shabana beat Matthew earlier in the week, the quote from Nick Matthew was, "He took me to the cleaners," unquote. So he knows he's got a bit of work to do if he's going to reverse that trend, because Shabana's been, frankly, fantastic all week, hasn't he, Joe?
Yeah, he has, and got to talk about the format. I mean, I have to reiterate that the best of 3 format is only used in the World Series tournament, so it only happens when they play the group stages and then the semi-finals. That really does suit Shabana. Matthew's built his game on mental strength and pure physicality. Omar Shabana technically is possibly the best squash player of the modern era, and you can see that he's also trimmed himself considerably. He's got a very strong and lean physique, which is enabling him to move quickly around the court, particularly to the front areas. But I've got a real hunch that Shabana has got to win the first game here if he's going to have any success against Matthew in the best-of-5 format. These guys have come up against each other prolifically throughout the whole of the last 2 years, and Matthew's got the better of Shabana. They played in the World Championships back in December in Qatar. Matthew won that 3-1.
Yeah, we saw Matthew just with the edge in their recent meetings, but overall, Matthew's only beaten Shabana 6 times in their previous 19 meetings. He had a real struggle against Gauthier, didn't he, in the semi-final, which could have gone either way. It went the distance. In the end, Matthew rather wore him down.
Well, they were both brilliant semi-finals. Shabana getting past James Wallstrop, but
PSA World Series finals. The men's final between Amr Shabana of Egypt serving, Nick Matthew of England receiving. Best of 5 games.
Getting really into this, which is good to hear.
well, this was meant to be the final back in 2011. Unfortunately, it wasn't played due to a problem with the court. It had to actually be cancelled. So we're going to see it now in 2013.
And out.
Well, there's absolutely no problem with the court this year. This Z court doesn't just erect itself, by the way, as we watch the magic shot early on from the Egyptian.
Well, the simple things, the service is such an important shot to play. It's the only time you have an advantage over your opponent, and Shabana will go for things on the forehand and backhand, cross-court nick attempts and straight volley drop attempts.
Talking about this court, used for the first time just in 2011, only used at the World Series finals, and already we're getting some great entertainment.
Well, he's hit 2 nicks. He's hit 1 in the front of the court, and then he's hit 1 in the back. So his accuracy levels are absolutely sublime already.
Nick is the intersection of the wall and the floor. If you're a squash aficionado, and basically the ball just dies, makes it impossible for the opponent to return.
It's also been enhanced by those LED lights that you can see. Shabana's certainly seeing them. Well, Trevor, we've got 2 players on here with 6 World Championship titles between them, 4 for Shabana and 2 for Matthew. Pretty impressive.
Well, the last of Matthew's British Open titles, as he's been a 3-time British Open champion in 2012, so only last year. And Shabana, 4-time World Open winner, most recently 2009. Let's go back to the good play from Matthew. Just going back to the court briefly. It takes them a day to actually build the platform on which the court is actually erected, and then 30 hours to actually assemble the court. And it's done by very skilled people as well. But the result is visually stunning, and it gives spectators the best possible view of squash, whether you're at home watching on television or actually in the arena here.
Stroke to Matthew.
Stroke awarded to Matthew there.
Left, yeah.
Just querying which side to serve.
Well, you can just see the fiancée Esme Taylor of Nick Matthew, and Jade Elias, who's one of the England physios.
Down.
Chance missed there.
And out.
Well, I'm intrigued by the
3-4.
tactics. James Wallstrop employed a very straight tactic down the left-hand wall, which was slightly unusual
3-4.
against a left-hander. Usually the balls look to be swept over to the right-hand wall. Shabana's so deadly on his backhand volley drop that it'll be interesting to see what Nick Matthew does if he does try and play down the wall, which Wallstrop employed, or actually start to go. I mean, he's gone cross-court there, and again, he's hit a perfect width.
And out, 5-3.
I think with the pace elements that Nick Matthew will look to actually hit a bit more cross-court, because he does have that inherent quality of hunting the ball on the tee line and playing at a fast pace.
So good start for Matthew in this opening game. 5-3 is the lead. you were with us yesterday, you might have heard Amr Shabana's interview after his victory in the semi. Talked about doing 3 hours of stretching. Not sure if he's done that much, but it certainly appeared to take more out of him in his semi-final than it did Matthew in his.
Yeah, I think there was a little bit more intensity with Shabana and James Wallstrop. It was an awkward match. It was quite physical. There was a huge amount of lets and traffic problems.
I'm going to ask you about recovery time in squash, Joey, because it has to be a factor. It's such a physically demanding sport.
Well, from a sports science perspective, these players are able to clear lactic acid out of their muscles at eerie rates. It's a multiple sprint sport with the endurance factor, so a match can last over 2 hours at least, and they're able to really keep clearing continually. It's an amazing facet, really. The fitness levels, it's an all-round fitness level that they have, and then you've got the flexibility side of things, and the guys at the age that are at now, Shabana 33 and Nick Matthew 32, they do a huge amount of yoga, stretching, massage, and it's not nice massage, Trevor, it's very painful, deep massage.
Yes, lad.
Piggyback.
Right side. 6-3. Right side.
See Matthew obviously eager to get into that front corner. Again, the service has to go into the sidewall, but sometimes even if it goes there, Shabana's able to fire into the nick. Just for the viewers watching, it's really an interesting situation with the racket. Just watch how Shabana adjusts his grip when he plays shots. He's always adjusting his handle grip, whereas Nick Matthew tends to keep the grip fixed in the same area.
Down.
That was a good boast, wasn't it, from Matthew that set up that point.
Left side.
Well, this is the perfect scenario
7-3.
because Matthew is steaming ahead. Shabana's making a few unforced errors. He's got to find that rhythm, the Egyptian.
Yeah, Matthew isn't always the best of starters, but he's come out the traps here.
Again, you'll see off the back wall, he kind of shakes the racket and he moves the hand up and down the grip wherever he's trying to play. I mean, it really is amazing. The dexterity in the hand of Shabana is probably the best. They're not really renowned for cricket, Egypt. I don't think they play it at all, but he would have been a wonderful opening batsman. Well, he didn't want to run for that one. Matthew would have made a note of this situation. You see, he's gone short, Matthew's countered, and he's not wanted to go into that, so Matthew will have registered.
I do wonder whether it may be he's just suffering a little bit from his labours yesterday. Such a tough game.
Well, that is
brilliant touch again.
We're talking about, you know, the skills of Amr Shabana, but Nick Matthews' forehand volley is exceptional. You see the control. Takes this low down and puts it in beautifully. Matthews worked a lot on his short game in the last kind of year or so. Well, he read that. That was lucky. Bit of a smile from both players, but he was right behind Shabana there.
4-9.
He's playing very cleverly here, Nick Matthew. He's really mixing his paces. He's using a lot of the front wall again. He did it yesterday against Gaultier.
Down. The ball at the front. Decision ball at the front.
I wasn't sure.
Yes, lad.
Huh?
Yes, lad.
Yeah, it's good to see. We've seen excellent sportsmanship throughout this tournament. Nick Matthew just willing to play a let ball.
4-9.
He wasn't sure about one of his shots.
Down.
Well, that was a glorious opportunity gone begging.
That was just a complete break.
Ball was good. And out. 10-4. Game ball.
I wouldn't say it was good.
Well, technically.
That's good to hear Matthew just saying
10-4 game ball.
that he got his ball up. It didn't look particularly good, but it was actually good.
Yeah, he said he wouldn't call it good. The referee said, yeah, technically it was. That's all that matters. So, 6 points here for a one-game lead, and that's it.
Matthew.
Shabana not looking interested in that first game.
All Nick Matthew. And the Englishman strikes first in this men's final. 11 points to 4 in just 9 minutes. Shabana with work to do. Well, maybe a little bit surprising, the one-sided nature of that opening game, Joey. Not necessarily that Matthew won it, but we're expecting something of a titanic struggle, and we didn't get it there.
No, we didn't at all. It was quite extraordinary. Shabana not really running for many shots, putting quite a few unforced errors into the tin. But what is interesting, it was only 9 minutes in duration. So with that, the physical element not taking its toll on Shabana. Yes, he's a game down, but if he's able to maybe dictate that these duration of games are going to be shorter, that will aid the Egyptian. I mean, Matthew ideally would have liked to have won the first game, but in 20 minutes, so a real drawing of strength.
And what do you think Shabana's coach, what will be the message Shabana's coach is giving to his man?
Well, Shabana won't actually have anyone with him. He's here alone, but he's so experienced. He's the most experienced out of all of them on the World Tour, and he'll address the situation directly, I'm sure.
Really impressive from Nick Matthew in that opening game. Both these players have had some injury problems in the past. 5 or 6 years ago, Matthew had a career-threatening shoulder injury. Last few years, Shabana's had shoulder and knee problems. And back problems, actually. Dexterity required to play this game is something else. It's almost a 360-degree move, that. Well, from Nick Matthews' point of view, he'll want more of the same, and obviously his supporters too. What does Shabana need to do, Joey, to get back into this? Because that was, well, a comprehensive squash lesson dished out by Matthew in the opening game.
Well, Shabana didn't find his feet at all. He didn't have the urgency in his movement like he did against Wallstrop there. He made a lot of unforced errors. I think that he's got to get his basic line and length, which I'm sure he'll address at the beginning of this game, and then he can start to open up and do his specialities at the front of the court. But I feel the duration of that first game being only 9 minutes still gives Shabana a bit of a shout. Although he's one game to love down, physically it hasn't dented him in any way.
So Matthew serving, start of game 2.
You just never know with Omar Shabana, because he can rattle off points quicker than pretty much anyone. There's only one other player that can do that, and he's not featured. He's the world #1, Ramy Ashour.
He was originally scheduled to be here, but just picked up an injury as Matthew just hits the top of the tin.
And out. 1 love.
Well, he's starting to move, Matthew. This is quite brutal, but he absorbs. Nick Matthew. He's one of the only players on Shabana that can actually make Matthew's movement patterns look quite awkward, particularly to this forehand back corner. You see it there, because he is left-handed, and the lines that he hits, he makes Matthew's kind of reach there. You can see he just can't get across to it.
That was a stamina-sapping rally. Matthew running here, there and everywhere on the court there, Shabana.
That's a really wonderful change of pace from Matthew.
Down.
He's made the error. That would have been the perfect rally. It was exactly the right shot to execute after the lob from the back.
3 love. Yes, yeah.
Well, this is the perfect response from the Egyptian maestro. And there's the mix of pace from Shabana. Again, the Egyptian this time using considerable height on the front wall and then snapping a quick volley exchange. Both these players are implementing wonderful ball control, Trevor.
So a lightning start here for Shabana. 4 love, just what he needed after not really being particularly competitive in the opening game. Asking some questions finally from Matthew. Fantastic, wasn't it? Well, I don't think Matthew was expecting that.
Well, I don't think anyone was expecting that. Look at the speed. Now, watch this. Look at that acceleration and then stops his movement and then the racket head control.
Almost a trick shot. We saw a couple of truly inspired, creative moments from Shabana yesterday. That kind of dummy shot he plays where he pretends to hit the ball and hits it almost on the second attempt.
This is unbelievable. It's like he's brought in another twin here on the Shabana. The one from the first game is being completely eradicated. He looks so comfortable now. I mean, he really is just exploring the court with his shots and sitting on the tee line. He's just waiting here. These players, they're not just bored hitting the ball down the sidewall, they're waiting for an opportunity to open up. Real cat and mouse squash. Here's the speed. This is where you get the acceleration. Matthew will be looking to put in a long, hard rally here.
Just about up from Shabana.
That's well executed. Really well executed.
Difficult that for Shabana to anticipate because Matthew could have gone either side.
Well, he held his shot. Squash terminology, you wait, you delay, you hold your opponent's movement and then you quickly play it. It's very hard to move from a static position. There's only a few players. Gaultier is very good at moving from a static position, but primarily players need momentum to move in quickly to the front of the court.
Down.
Well, he's made the error. That is interesting. Matthew will be irritable with that shot.
7-1.
Followed by the scowl, wasn't he? He was disgusted with himself for that. So 7-1, Shabana. Looking good to level the match at 1 game all.
Down. And out. 2-7.
Well, Matthew, even though he's 5 points down in this second game, will just keep plugging away. He'll look to extend, bring in the physical element. Like I said, he did win that first game, but only in 9 minutes, and there wasn't really any grueling rallies. Going to be... Oh, that's the delay. So Shabana showing the ability on the whole He does something with his racket head that's very unusual here, Shabana. He drops it at the very last moment, and he does it so easily. And you know the straight drop's happening, but you still have to wait. It's horrible to play against.
Down. (9-2).
Well, if anything, this is even more one-sided than the
9-2.
first game, but the other way.
Well, this will be perfect for Shabana. Obviously responding, winning this, but with the seesawing of events, it certainly suits the Egyptian. Oh.
Relentless at the moment.
Well, he just can't miss, and he's had a lot of excellent attacks, but also he's been aided by the unforced errors from Matthew.
So 8 points for a one-game all in this final.
Oh, that's a good squeeze. Excellent squeeze on the sidewall there. Shabana looks up. I think he's actually woken up now. The body, the systems are firing. Certainly the racket head.
11-2.
Well, wonderful from Arma Shabana. Unrecognisable from the player we saw in that first game. He's won the second game by 11 points to 2. Perfect situation. We're all tied up, one apiece. Well, it was a stunning game, wasn't it, from Arma Shabana? You couldn't actually have asked for anything more diverse than what he showed us in the first game.
Not at all. I mean, I made the cheeky comment about the twin, but it's true. I mean, he's just, within 2 minutes, Trevor, he's able to sort his mind out and everything else and just come out and hit the quality that we've seen throughout the week. So it's now Matthew's time to respond, and Matthew will be looking in the early stages of the third game to put in some very hard physical rallies.
So what we are effectively now is best of 3, which is what they played earlier in the week when Shabana, pretty much in Matthew's own words, wiped the floor with him, 11-6, 11-6. And although we're 2 games in, you made the point earlier, Joe, we're not that long into the match in terms of time, so you wouldn't have thought there'd be any kind of effect for Shabana. Quite an uncomfortable break this for Nick Matthew, I should say, because whether he feels he played particularly badly in that game, I'm not sure he did. He did make a few unforced errors, but Shabana was just inspired.
Well, he's won this. He's a defending champion of this event. He'll be looking to scalp Nick Matthew here and regain his title, certainly.
Prolonged discussion between player and coach. Let's see what turns up in this third game. Nick Pearson, Matthew's coach. David Pearson, my apologies, off to take his seat as Shabana returns. Game on here at Queen's. 1 apiece between Shabana and Matthew. It's been intriguing so far, particularly the way that the match turned completely around in that second game, where we were talking about Shabana initially having some problems. Now it's on Matthew's shoulders.
It is, and what I think you might see, and again, the viewers should watch out for this, the forehand side of Nick Matthew, he's got a considerable wingspan with his volley. He gets across and he hunts that volley, and he's made a lot of unforced errors on it. He's been looking to go short directly off the volley. I think that he'll actually start looking when he does anticipate, and he'll take it back deep into the back of the court rather than going short and then wait till later on when he feels a bit more confident. Because he made about 3 or 4 unforced errors on that, and that's his trademark strength. Well, it's all to play for here. It's the dream final now that you've had the response from Shabana.
52 titles between them, these two.
I thought you were going to call. I thought you were going to say he was 52 years of age. We know Ellery Hanley is, who's in the audience, but or 51, but.
Stroke to Matthew.
First stroke decision of this final and goes in Matthew's favour.
Oh, that is a horrible boast. That boast that just going away from Matthew, shorter and shorter into the front of the court. Sometimes call that the gut ripper, Trevor. Again, Matthew will be looking to put some very long testing rallies into the early stages of the third. You won't want Shabana to dictate the rhythm here. Oh, it's just so hard to read that shot. Flicks his wrist at the last moment. He plays it very close to his body.
2-1.
You see the generation of power from racket head speed.
Just couldn't have placed it better. That showed you perfectly the angle that he created, and there was no chance for Matthew to get it back.
Well, we've hardly seen any let balls. It's a big contrast to the semi-finals between Shabana and James Woolstrop.
Down.
Oh, he had him. He had him going completely the wrong way.
And out.
Watch this. Matthew thinks it's going into that front right-hand corner.
It's the football equivalent of the open goal. Massive let-off for Matthew.
Also feel that Shabana's body position is a lot better today on that forehand side. He's getting the ball really close to the side wall. He was a bit looser yesterday against Woolstrop. There goes the variation.
Down.
Oh, look at that.
His creative skills are magnificent, aren't they? He plays shots that very few other players even think about.
And out.
Marvellous.
3-2.
And he's picked up in the second game, or in the third game rather, where he left off in the second.
Well, just going back to his technical abilities, basically that racket is an extension of his arm. I'm sure that he actually sleeps with the racket in his hand.
Decision. Yes, led. 3-2.
I know Jeffrey Boycott used to sleep with his bat. I know that's true.
Well, that wouldn't surprise me.
No, he told me.
Feel sorry for the bat. Look at that. They always talk about the modern game changing.
Yes, led. 3-2.
Trevor, with the technology, the rackets are obviously a lot bigger than they were with the wooden-headed rackets, the glass court, the lower tin being 17 inches rather than 19 inches. But these players, these group of players recently are really starting to go back to a lot of the so-called old-school shots of using a lot of lobs and a lot of height to vary the pace. Just adds to the entertainment value.
It's a good get from Shabana. Stayed in the point.
Oh, look at that. Again, it's a taxi. Nick Matthew having no idea. This could have been one of 4 shots, this time choosing the trickle boast angle.
One of the things that makes Shabana is such a hard opponent to play against. He kind of almost invents shots. Matthew at the moment is distinctly second best, even though he took the opening game.
Well, the wonderful thing about Nick Matthew is that he's such a mentally strong athlete, and he'll just keep coming and coming and coming at Shabana. Oh, that's a lovely bit of skill this time from Nick Matthew. Shabana will be very irritable with himself. The width narrow, not wide enough at all, right onto the racket of Matthew. And the Englishman showing good racket head control. Backhand volley drop shot. There goes the lob.
Yes, lad. And there wasn't a line to the ball either. 3-4. It was English, yes. 3-4. I'm saying there wasn't a line to the ball either, although there wasn't contact.
Review just to prove you wrong.
A video review on the yes let decision.
Well, he's after the video review saying it's going to prove the referee wrong. Let's see if he's right.
This is interesting. They always are very interesting. It's a let ball, but Shabana's saying there's no contact at all. There isn't any contact. So why didn't he go through to play the ball? That's Shabana's argument. He should go through to play that. That should be a no-let. There's absolutely no contact here. If we watch, he plays the shot, he doesn't take much space. Matthew's through to play it.
Yes, let. Decision upheld.
There we go.
Shabana has no reviews left. 3-4 left side.
Well, you might remember, if you were watching earlier, we showed you a little explainer about the let, no let, stroke. But there is always an element of opinion that comes into these things.
Oh, certainly. Well, there's going to be the stroke. So Shabana responds.
Stroke to Shabana.
And you can hear the crowd. He'll start to gee himself up. I do feel that he was pretty hard done by on that last decision, but he's got to deal with the business at hand, which is trying to build a strong lead in this third game. Nick Matthew doesn't want to start opening the court out like that off the service.
5-3.
This is clever squash.
Down.
Really clever squash. Shabana's not bringing much of a physical element into this game.
6-3.
He's starting now to dictate what goes on. Matthew's got to get back to that kind of high tempo. If he can, he's got to extend the rallies and make them physical. Because he's just
down,
starting to fire into the front of the court. You've got the element that I said yesterday with this white ball that softens up considerably, so that means it stays shorter in the corners.
Well, he's proved he can go the distance before, Shabana. He won this title last year, the hard way in 5 games. Against Gregory Gaultier, that went to an hour and a half.
Oh, that is absolutely wonderful. Just out of nowhere, set up by the deceptive width, and then look at that. I mean, a lot of players would have just charged directly into the front wall and probably headbutted it, but Shabana playing that with high skill. That shot was a very hard shot to play, Trevor. The last one from Shabana in that previous rally.
Well, that's a really good response from Nick Matthew.
Well, he will respond. He will respond. He'll come at him. Shabana's got to win this game. Point out the obvious, but Matthew will just keep coming at him. You know, his nickname on the PSA World Tour, Matthew, is the Wolf. You see, he's now starting to try and force it. Unfortunately, that ball too accurate on the sideball, which is what Shabana has to do. But Matthew was trying to get on the tee line. He's trying to force the pace. He's coming across with a volley here. Just too good a shot there.
And what will suit Shabana as well is that there aren't too many overly long rallies.
Well, there again, it's
a masterclass.
Well, it's a lottery. You just don't know what shot he's going to play.
10-4, game ball.
Hand speed there, even in slow motion, you couldn't see it.
11-4,
just casual
game
as
to Shabana.
It's almost like he's doing an
leads
exhibition
2
match.
games to
Absolutely
1.
brilliant from the Egyptian, who takes that third game in just 11 minutes, and he now leads from behind by 2 games to 1. You almost run out of superlatives, Joey, to describe some of Shabana's shots, don't you?
Oh, you do, particularly when he's playing like this. I mean, it's a nightmare here for Nick Matthew because there's no rhythm to the game anymore, and the physical element is not there. Shabana's dictating the play. He's relaxed into this. His body's obviously loosened up. He did find it hard with his match against Woolstrop yesterday, and his body language is up. I mean, he's in wonderful. He's in a wonderful position, really. He's now 2 games to 1.
Well, you mentioned he doesn't have a coach here, Joey, but at the moment, he doesn't need one. Is that unusual for a player to be sitting there on his own?
Yes, no, it's not at all. There's quite a few players that, I mean, Simon Rosner was dealing with things here. There's quite a few players that do. Matthew, with the advantage of this being in England, has got his coach, David Pearson, with him. Shabana's never had a coach. Shabana's never had a coach.
Well, at the moment, he's giving us a wonderful demonstration of match play squash from a game down to 2-1 up against Nick Matthew. A whole series of drop shots and boasts, and let's see how supple he is for a 33-year-old. Super fit. And it's the creativity to his game that I think is one of the reasons why he's so popular. He's just a fabulous player to watch.
15 seconds.
Not that Nick Matthews enjoying it just at the moment. Now trailing by 2 games to 1 in this final. So Arma Shabana 1 game away from taking down this ATCO PSA World Squash Finals title. And Nick Matthew, Joey, must be seriously concerned now.
He'll be obviously, of course, he'll be concerned, but he does thrive in these situations. He'll come back stronger. He'll look to make these first rallies very hard again if he can, if he's allowed to. What was interesting, the match time so far is 35 minutes for 3 games, which is not particularly long at all. The first game which Shabana lost, I did say he needed to win the first game, but he lost it in 9 minutes. Then he won the next game in 9 minutes, and then the next in 11 minutes. Now, these are short periods of time. Some of these games can go on alone 25 minutes plus. So we always talk about the physical element with Shabana. He's lean and he is strong, but endurance-wise, he can be a bit suspect. But that's not coming into this yet.
Yes, the 3 games we've had have all been pretty one-sided. There haven't been very many lets, and the rallies have been not overly long. So all those factors contributing to the relatively short match time, just half an hour for these opening 3 games.
Shabana
And
leads
Matthew needs to
2
win the
games
next
to
2
1.
if he's going to win this title.
Well, Matthew will be as busy as ever here.
Round.
And there's the unforced error. He'll
One
certainly want a couple of those in the early stages from Omar Shabana. But if the Egyptians' accuracy levels are as they were in the last game, it's going to be very hard for Matthew to implement that fast and furious, prolonged pace. And interestingly, Shabana's not given Matthew much to hit off on the forehand volley for the right-hander.
Stroke to Shabana. Hand out. 1-all. You didn't clear his shot. You're in the swing. Hand out. 1-all.
Well, just asking for clarification, Matthew. I don't think he was ever going to use a review there.
Out. The ball's out. And out 2-1.
Can't use a review for a line decision. Shabana was convinced that was good. I have to say I agree with him, but the referee is the man whose decision matters.
Well, again, it's kind of short, bitty rallies. Talk about the front wall. Shabana uses the extremities. I mean, he chips the ball very high away from the volley, and then he hits a lower line. He makes it very hard for Matthew to volley around shoulder height. It's really subtle and unbelievably effective. Look at that.
Dead aim from both men.
Down.
Oh, Matthew be furious with himself, Trevor.
Hand out.
That rally had the makings of being more physical,
2-all.
and then he lets Shabana off the hook with an unforced error.
Yes, lad. 2-all. There was room to swing there.
Matthew just making note of what the difference was. John Mazzarella saying that there was room to play.
Down.
Well, there's the variation on the angle. Again, clipping the top of the tin
And
from
out.
the Egyptian.
3-2.
Oh, that's... Oh, it's just a horrible shot for Matthew to go and get in the first place in that front left-hand corner, just chipping it casually. Matthew awkward,
3-all.
and then Shabana hitting pinpoint, straight drive.
Three times Matthew's led in this game. 3 times Shabana has pulled it back.
He's starting to anticipate across the tee line, Shabana. He's already shaping up for shots that are coming from Matthew.
Yes, lad. 3-all.
Oh, we've got a review.
Review, please.
Well, called as a let, and straight away Matthew wants to review it.
Well, it's a let ball, the original decision, and Matthew was on top of Shabana there. He's turned on the ball, but you can see the Egyptian well within his swing. This could well be overturned. I think this is a stroke.
It is indeed.
Decision.
So finally something goes right for Matthew with a video
Matthew
review.
has one review remaining.
Because
Hand
his
out.
review was successful,
4-3.
he doesn't lose it. Still has the 1 in this game.
Yes, let. 4-3. Video review, please, on the yes, let decision.
Fourth official.
We'll have a review still in this game, yes.
Fourth official getting his money's worth here. So Shabana coming round. Matthew loose with the ball. Still plenty of front wall to play. See it here. Comes round, plays the boast, and then here's the loose ball. I think that he had room to play that.
Yes, let. A decision
That was exactly the
upheld.
view of the fourth official,
Shabana
so
has no reviews left. 4-3.
neither man. Beg your pardon, Matthew of course still has the one review because his was successful, but Shabana's lost his.
Needs to be a good serve. Well, Matthew holding his ground.
5-3.
Because we've had a lot of action with the reviews, Trevor, the ball's gone very cold now, so the players really have to hit through to get it to the back of the court. Look at the height again from Matthew. Oh,
Down.
open racket face.
Hand out.
Quick adjustment with his grip.
4-5.
Loosens the hands, cuts the ball into the left-hand corner front.
Matthew was complaining that Shabana's ball was down, but unsuccessfully.
No, it was very good.
Down.
And that's the kind of unforced error that Matthew knows he can do without. You can see the look of anguish on his face. Knew that was a gifting of a
5
point
all.
to the Egyptian.
Well, up until the tournament last year, Omar Shabana, with all the titles he's won on the PSA World Tour, never won one in the UK. He's putting himself in a wonderful position here to possibly regain it, but it's still, well, he will do if he hits balls like that. Matthew will keep coming at him, though.
6-5.
So Matthew will start to hunt the ball. He's going to fly up to the tee line. See him now pushing up. Not sure what happened there. I don't know if he caught his knee. Shabana.
6 all.
Looks okay. Crucial stage in the match now. 6-all.
Clever service. Sorry to cut you out there. It was a very clever serve down the middle, away from the volley of Shabana. Oh, that is very clever. I think this was intentional.
If I would have swung at that, then I could have taken his head off.
Decision, please. No let.
Review. Ref, you've got to think about it in real time.
Yeah, okay. With the video review.
This was an intentional shot. I don't think this was a miss-hit from Shabana.
If I
On the
volleyed
no
the
let
ball,
decision.
John, if I volleyed the ball, I'd have volleyed it before it hit
Yeah,
me.
the question was, were you in a position to play?
So obviously Matthew reviewing.
Probably a bit quick for you.
Well, it's a no-let. I think he's done that on purpose, Shabana. They were so tight into each other, and you would know that Matthew was trying to leap across for a volley. Watch this. I think he's actually hit this down the middle at him on purpose. You see it from the front of the court. He has. That was an intentional shot. That's very clever. Usually you see it from the front corners down the middle. But Shabana... that's going to stay. Yeah,
let decision.
great decision.
Upheld.
Great
Matthew
shot.
has
Clever,
no
clever
reviews
shot
left.
from the maestro.
Hand out.
Don't tell Nick.
7-6.
7-6 Shabana in front in this potentially decisive fourth game.
Seven, 6.
been really impressed with the accuracy of the hitting. I did say it in the second game from Shabana. Down this side, he was a bit looser against Woolstrop on the left-hand wall. That's going to be a no-let.
Decision no let, 8-6.
Just looks like he's got the troubles of the world on his shoulders at the moment, Nick Matthew. And this match starting to slip away from him. No way would have got to that.
Well, this ball has not had much activity in this last period, so whoever does go short early is going to get a lot of success if it's quality.
A couple of times in this rally, he's bought himself some time
Yes,
with those lobs, Shabana.
8-6.
So they'll play the point again.
Well, at this stage, we're up to the 50-minute mark, so this is one of their shorter encounters between Nick Matthew and Shabana so far.
Yes, lad.
Seeing a few more let balls now.
8-6.
It starts to get very tight. Again, Matthew not able to dictate the pace here at all. Look at that accuracy, can't volley it. Jumping around now, Shabana. See, he's got so much bounce in his legs.
Yes, lad. Eight, 6.
Suddenly a spate of lets. We've had hardly any the rest of the match. Still 8-6.
Well, Matthew wasn't entirely sure where that was going necessarily, but he's got the unforced error. He was under the pressure from the word go, really, in that rally.
7-8.
But again, Matthew does absolutely gobble up these opportunities when it gets to the business end. He went for the nick, didn't find it. It's going to be a stroke.
Stroke to Shabana.
It's going to be a stroke. There's
And
nothing
out.
Matthew can do about that. The ball was tight. He squirted it back on himself.
9-7.
He was ready to play. 2-point cushion.
And 2 points away, the Egyptian.
Yes, lad.
Well, it was a lovely idea, wasn't it, from Shabana?
9-7.
He's done that shot earlier and he fooled Matthew completely, but the Yorkshireman was showing that he could get to that shot.
Not Carter.
Well, there's the flick. It was a loose ball. Again, Matthew having no chance to try and get anything back from here.
10-7.
Perfect shot from Shabana gives him
Match
3
ball.
championship points. I think they'll have to replay it, will they?
Oh, yeah. Oh, yes. That'll be a let ball, but...
Fabulous rally.
Oh, it was
10-7.
of the highest quality.
Match ball.
So as you were, 3 championship points here for Arma Shabana.
Down.
Well, the error coming from Matthew.
11-7.
He's done it again.
Game and match to Shabana.
And it's a stunning victory for Arma Shabana, well appreciated by a full house here inside Queens. He might have dropped the first game, but he came back brilliantly to win the next 3. And for once, Nick Matthew just did not have an answer. Stunning display of creative squash from the Egyptian. And no one can dispute that he's a worthy champion for the 2nd year running. Final score then, Matthew won the first game 11-4, but then it was one-way traffic, 11-2, 11-4, 11-7. Shabana is the champion here at Queens for 2013, and we can go downstairs and join the RMC Di Doherty.
Nick, that was an incredible game of squash. Obviously disappointing for you walking off. How physically and mentally draining was that game of squash?
Yeah, as you can see, I'm sitting down, so sorry about that. Yeah.
I think first of all, actually, we should get the crowd to applaud your performance today, not just today, but for the whole week. All right. You have played some fantastic squash, and we can't forget as well that you won the British Open in 2012 for the 3rd time, the only Englishman in the professional era to achieve that. You had a brilliant 2012, you had a brilliant week, and you've had a good game today. Didn't go your way, but what positives can you take from this week?
Yeah, I didn't play badly at all. I can take a lot from that. You know, Shabana on that day, you know, I can have no complaints. He was too good. He would have been too good for most people today, that's for sure. I'm definitely not Egyptian, I am English. I'd like to have a few of his shots around the front. But no, I tried to get my aggressive game going, but, you know, that was testament to how well he played. You know, my coach came off after the 3rd game, he said, "You look a bit flat," and I said, I'm so up for it, but he just didn't give me anything. You know, his width and his length, the basics that people talk about his shots around the front, but the basic game, the width and the length, it just took away from my strengths, and you know, in the end, he was a steam train.
Yesterday's game against Greg Gaultier, it finished quite late last night, and that was a 3-gamer. How much did that take out of you, and did you have enough time to recover?
Yeah, for sure. You know, you could see the way I started. I came out really well. If you have a tough match, sometimes the hardest thing is to start well again, but I did that. That was no problem. Shabana had just as tough a match, so certainly no excuses there. He was, you know, on credit to him. He's won all those world titles, and he sort of reinvented himself. He had a the first half of 2012, he was not on his game, and he's come back and, as I said, reinvented himself. He's dropped a bit of weight, and he keeps playing like that. Then, you know, 2020 might be a possibility for him. Never mind some of the. So,
I'm just wondering, I don't know if the audience have noticed this at all. There's steam coming off Nick. I don't know how many sports that you see athletes with steam coming off them. It shows what you've put into this match, not just today, but for the whole week. What does the future hold for you, Nick? And what was that? Sorry. What does the future hold for you? What's the next step?
Yeah, we're off to New York in about 10 days' time. We've got the Tournament of Champions, which is played in Grand Central Station, put a court very much like this in the middle of Grand Central. So that's it's a fantastic tournament. The squash players feel like rock stars there. There's 1 million people pass through there every day, so that's a really big tournament. I won it last year, so I want to try and carry on in a good vein of form for the rest of the year.
Well done today, ladies and gentlemen. The world number 2, Nick Matthew. Moving on to our winner of the World Series Squash Final. A round of applause again, please, for Shabana. You are 33 years young. What is the possibility if squash gets through to the Olympic Games in 2020 of playing in that? You'll only be 40.
What's the possibility of me playing the Olympics? I'm really looking forward for squash to be included. It's a great game, and everybody who watches it and plays it you just need one time to experience squash, and you're addicted to it. And I think it's about time we get the recognition. It's about time the sport gets the recognition. It's about time everybody who enjoys squash, whether as a spectator or as a player, gets the recognition of being added to the Olympic Games.
You had a deserved round of applause. You had a brilliant match against James Willstrop yesterday. You said you were going back to your hotel room to stretch for 3 hours. Apparently, it was only 3 minutes, though. Yeah,
it was only 3 minutes. I didn't last even the 3 minutes. I just enjoyed the moment, and I'm just happy to be playing. It's a great experience to be a competitor with such elite players, and I'm just happy to be among them and to be able to compete.
How do you assess the way you performed today? We saw so much flair, so much finesse on the court.
You just try and play. Nick, he doesn't have any weaknesses. He's an amazing athlete. So you just try and keep the ball away from the middle, and there's only a few spaces in the court where you can play, where he's not going to attack you and punish you. So I was just trying to hang in there and wait for my opportunities, and it came out well for me today.
How much does this mean to you to successfully defend your title?
Yeah, it's an amazing feeling. I just love this tournament. I've been coming to this tournament for more than 10 years. I think Ziad and Tim Garner and the rest of the ATCO group and everybody who helped here has perfected this tournament.
I think pretty much everybody agrees with you.
I can speak on behalf of the players when the players feel they've been taken care of, and there's nothing for us to do except play. It's very easy for us to raise our game and do our job. So thank you everybody for making this tournament an excellent one.
Ladies and gentlemen, it's been a fantastic display of sport. Please put your hands together again for our winner, Shabana.
I think the level of applause that Shabana got there is proof positive of how much the crowd here, and therefore presumably everyone watching at home, enjoyed his performance. It was just magnificent.
Absolutely. He couldn't have got a better quality final, really. Matthew unable to fire necessarily, but that was taken away by the pure quality of the hitting of Shabana. He took the middle away, he hit the length, got the width. Matthew could not implement his game at all, and then after that was taken away from Matthew, anything at the front of the court, Shabana could construct his mercurial attacks that were very hard for Matthew to read. They know each other inside out, but when Shabana's got a position in the front of the court, he's got about 4 or 5 options. It's always a lottery trying to work out which shot he's going to play.
Is it conceivable, Joey, if Shabana stays fit and keeps on playing like this, could he get his world ranking back, #1 world ranking back?
It's going to be tough to get the world ranking back, but I still think he's going to win majors. I think in a tournament, I mean, he won the US Open in 2011, and I just think that he's still so dangerous. He won his first world championship from outside the top 10 in the world, so ranking doesn't really come into it. I think being the world #1, that's going to be a tough call necessarily for him, but I do think he will get up there and he will still win major tournaments, as he has done here.
Amazing when you think he's in his 18th year as a professional, and he won his first tour title way back in 1999. It was the Puebla Open in Mexico.
What were you doing then, Trevor?
I think back an awful long way, Joey. I mean, it's incredible that, you know, longevity in a sport that requires such huge physical demands and no little skill as well, to actually stay competitive at the absolute top level for that length of time.
Yeah, it's just testament to his technical abilities, his tactical abilities, really. His body has not taken the toll that the likes of people like Nick Matthew are a lot more physical. Shabana's technique, you can see from that super slow-mo, is absolutely beautiful. Any youngsters watching this man, I'll say it time and time again, he has got the perfect swing. If there ever is anything that is the perfect swing, it's represented by Omar Shabana.
We'll bring you the presentations shortly. We're just setting up the stage so we can present the trophies. There we go, to Shabana, and also, of course, to Nicole David, who, if you were with us earlier, you'd have seen take down the ladies' event. This is just confirmation of Shabana's victory here, getting past James Willstrop in the semi-finals in 3 games, and 4 games today, having dropped the first, came storming back. And Matthew won just 13 points in the last 3 games, and that tells you all you need to know, really. It was just a bit too clever for him today, wasn't he? His creativity was just a joy to behold.
After the first game, yeah, he was pretty lacklustre for Shabana's standards in the first game. Again, I made the point that he probably needed to win that first game, but with it being only 9 minutes in duration, it meant that he could kind of restart, really, and Shabana produced the goods once again.
Well, if you were with us earlier, you will have seen Nicole David beat Laura Massaro in the women's final. He came through against Jenny Duncalf yesterday in 3 tough games, actually, but today, in a best of 5, it was pretty straightforward. So both Nicole David and Arma Shabana thoroughly deserve their trophies. Let's go back down to the floor and rejoin Di Doherty.
And from the WSA, Ingrid Loftal-Benser. First of all, I'd like Ingrid to present the runner-up for the women's section. And please welcome to the court a fantastic performance from the English girl today, Laura Massaro. And the runner-up for the men's section, you've just seen him, you've just heard from him, Nick Matthew. Well, this tournament has simply been fantastic. We've had a wonderful time here at Queen's over the last few days, and it's culminated in this final day here. I would like to welcome back onto the court. You saw her earlier. She's been fantastic. She is the world #1. Please welcome back Nicole David. We will hear from Nicole in just a moment. But now let's welcome our men's winner. You've just heard from him as well, Shabana.
Of intense competition have come down to this. Nicole David lifting the women's trophy after a 3-game victory over Laura Massaro. 3-1 in the men's final. Shabana just too good for Nick Matthew in a breathtaking display of squash, which no doubt you've enjoyed with us today. Do hope you've enjoyed our coverage from the ATCO World Series squash finals here at the Queen's Club. It's been superb entertainment for the full duration of the tournament. And of course, the action doesn't stop here because it keeps on rolling on the squash train. Next off for us will be the Tournament of Champions. That's in New York City, in New York State, of course, January the 18th till the 24th. But for now, from everyone here, Sue Wright, Jerry Barrington, myself, Trevor Harris, and our whole outside broadcast team, thanks for joining us and a very good evening.